Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Chalhoub Group podcast series. My name is Alhamrani, and I am the Fashion Business Development Specialist at Chalhoub Group here in Saudi Arabia. The focus of our podcast today is the changing landscape of fashion in Saudi Arabia. And joining me today are my two colleagues, Joseph Chalhoub, who's the General Manager for Fashion and Accessories, and Turki Alqahtani, who is the Regional Manager for Carolina Herrera and Purificación Garcia. So gentlemen, as you know, Saudi is changing tremendously under Vision 2030. And it's not just, generally across all different markets. All different industries, but also specifically within fashion. We have changes such as the establishment of the Fashion Commission under the Ministry of Culture. We also have things like Harper's Bazaar Arabia launching their first Saudi edition, which is unprecedented. And honestly, if you would have told me this 10, 15 years ago, I wouldn't have believed you. So really amazing changes that are happening, not just internally within the group, but also externally, in Saudi in general. So really my first question here is, for you as a professional within the industry, how are you seeing those changes and how do you think that affects our business directly?
Absolutely. You can definitely see the change. And I think looking back, since 2004, 2005, and I think when, the government started giving a lot of young Saudi men and women scholarships to study abroad and, come back with these sort of new innovative ideas. And I think just being connected to the world, we can see that Saudi has become a lot more open to different cultures. Talking about culture also, like Saudi Arabia, it's a very rich culture in terms of tradition and, customs and, even within the kingdom, different parts, different cultures. So bringing all of this and just being connected to different cultures also it changed the way how you think and, just makes you a little bit more open to change. And think, going from there and, having all these experiences and that exposure, definitely have changed the way how the consumer today thinks. And I think it's just the way how the government and the direction that we're going, with, which is amazing. And we can see it in different fields, particularly today we are talking about fashion and how the landscape of that sort of evolving and improving. We see also the openness of people as well and the willingness of sort of wanting to, open up, in Jeddah, for example, that's where I live. It's a very multicultural. So we see different, backgrounds of people, but we sort of embrace that kind of differences and changes that we have and we see. Also, the Saudiization, which is kind of, 2017, 18, when it was sort of really, changed, the workforce where a lot of Saudis started to earn more money. They started to have that better exposure. They started to even travel with work and that kind of, gave them a different kind of taste and, having that kind of individuality of, this is me. This is how I want to look. This is how I, the things that I like. And, it's a lot of factors on how things are changing. And we are moving forward with the way how the government's going, particularly with 2030 and even 50 and 100. So, yeah.
I agree. I think the openness, not just in terms of tourism, but also for the Saudi consumer has been really a change, not just in the culture, but also in their lifestyles, which I think we can see as well affected in their shopping behaviors. And it's really interesting because I feel like we're at the cusp of a major shift in the Saudi consumers' shopping behavior, whereas previously they differentiated between how they shop abroad and how they shop in Saudi. Now they're demanding for that experience in Saudi. And as you know, we ran a study recently on the Saudi fashion consumer and how, their behavior has shifted not just post Vision 2030, but also post-COVID, which I think both together makes for a whole new different consumer, especially
absolutely. Online.
Exactly. I mean, online, and also keeping in mind that half of the consumer in Saudi is under 30 years old, which is a whole different market than what we've catered to previously. So it was really interesting to see the findings from that study and to see how there is such a major shift and a major kind of hunger for change, for experience, for convenience, so many things that, once we tap deeper into these insights, we can start implementing into our stores, our experiences, and even thinking about what brands in the future we want to start offering to the Saudi consumer.
Yeah, it is absolutely the case. Like for me, I've been visiting Saudi for the past maybe 12 years, and you could sense in the past 2-3 years, like the shift and the changes, whether socially or on the level of the consumer. Now, the study that you're referring to, it came to validate all these changes, and then we are more confident about the shift in the consumer behavior.
And, I was lucky to work with a lot of the, high-end brands. And I know as a fact that in Europe and certain cities in Europe or countries, and even in the Gulf, they actually have, during their buying for their stores, they have a budget for Saudis. Because they are used to them, like during summer and holidays, they come for visit. And so they need to make sure they can cater for them.
Yeah.
And their taste of items that sort of they like and they like to purchase.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now it's all about, what the Saudis go to these countries looking for, identifying that and bringing it here, having them, have that experience locally rather than looking for it abroad, I think is super important, not just in attracting the tourist the visiting consumer, but also in retaining the local consumer. And I think over the past year and a half with COVID, we were lucky in the sense that the consumer had to be in Saudi, but now the challenge here is once they're able to leave, which now they are, how are we able to, keep bringing them in?
Going abroad has many factors. One of it, like part of the travel, is the experience of like going shopping. And when they go to these stores in Europe, America, or Asia, like they find that it's a different atmosphere. It's a different feeling. You're doing, you're taking a break, and during that break, you do your shopping. Plus you have the, variety of items, which is, I think a lot of the brands here in Saudi, they like, because they only purchase what they think the market is, sort of going for, where the Saudis, taste, or, the things that they sort of like or want, and the way how they evolve and in the way how they purchase, it's changing much faster than the way how they thought of it. And I think that's why you find a lot of, the stores, let's say in Dubai, like 30 to 50% of their customers are Saudis, in Bahrain, in Kuwait. So, because it's the closest and it's easier kind of like to go back and forth from.
But you did touch upon variety, which is, again, in the study was highlighted as one of the top 3 reasons why people shop abroad. So it was variety, it was a need for convenience, and also it's the atmosphere. With all the religious restrictions, the cultural restrictions, now that you see that opening up with things like concerts and all the seasons, like Riyadh season, Jeddah season, they're beginning to experience these things locally through these seasons and other kind of cultural, musical, entertainment events. And now they're expecting that within their retail experiences as well. So it's really kind of allowing us, or kind of challenging us to up our game when it comes to our in-store experience.
Absolutely.
Which is really exciting as well.
Yeah, I know that for a fact, like in Middle East weekend, Riyadh shops have made, really good money, like during that weekend, because of all these people coming from different cities in Saudi, plus even the Gulf, like from Kuwait, Qatar, and, Dubai, coming for this event. It was a very big event. Even a lot of influencers and, music, people that coming from Europe and America coming for that event. So like it was a very huge event, which kind of benefited, the country, particularly like Riyadh city, and in terms of like, hotels and the shops, and everyone wants to buy something for that event. So
it was all over the social media.
Absolutely,
so it helps the case here.
Yeah. And what I actually really loved about is, when you talk about, like sort of like techno or like, kind of like pop music, or, we talk about like DJ and like sort of mixing, producing music, you wouldn't think like Saudis sort of have that kind of like the majority of them, but there's so many people. And the thing that I also loved is like the people inside, like you have everyone. You have the one that's like fully like covered. You have the one that's like, loving, enjoying the music. Everyone is being themselves. And it was just a great, mix, and just seeing what a Saudi is all about. And it's just that,
Yeah. Agreed. It kind of showed the spirit of the country, which is great. And
absolutely.
What's really interesting, you mentioned that a lot of people internationally came to Saudi for this event. But what's also interesting is that we found that people from smaller cities around Saudi traveled to Riyadh specifically for Middle East and Riyadh season and a few other events.
Diriyah season, Riyadh season, Janadriya, like they are upping their games.
Exactly.
And the way how like they want to sort of like really celebrate the cultures and say it.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, when we think about the Saudi consumer, I think previously we were thinking about Jeddah, Riyadh, and the eastern region. But at the moment, we can see that, the customer exists all around Saudi, especially with our e-commerce capabilities. At the moment, we see orders coming from Tabuk, coming from Najran. Yeah. And so looking at this customer and seeing how within our brands that we already have in Saudi, and also with possibly new brands to introduce to Saudi, how are we catering to customers within those smaller cities?
I mean, look, today, the way how, even look at the way how sort of, the country is moving. The focus mostly in the main cities because it's heavily populated, and that's where the focus starts, and it sort of branches out to the other cities. Today, yes, the focus mostly in the capital, in Riyadh, Jeddah, and then Dhahran, because mostly like Jeddah and Riyadh because it's the main two cities. And then you go to like the smaller cities like Dammam, Dhahran. And then we also have Medina and Mecca. Mecca now, there's a lot of like big project. I know it's a very, more of a religious kind of holiday where people come to Mecca. It's for like religious reasons, but also we are pushing to, cater for, those clientele that we have in there. And, for example, with Chalhoub, we have Muse, which the customer can, check the catalogs of, whatever brands that, we have, and then they can choose wherever they are in Saudi, and, we ship it to them. We also have Ninja, which is another way of like payments, which makes it much easier for the clients that, they have the catalog, they can choose the colors, the sizes, everything. They see how it looks, how it fits. And, they order it 2 days, and then it's just between their hands. And we need to do that because today we need to see where else can we expand? Where are the majority of our customers that we can actually cater for them and branch out?
Yeah, you spoke about 2-3 days of delivery during Ramadan. Just to give a little metric here, we delivered 5,700 same day deliveries in Saudi, which is really big, and it's a milestone in the last mile improvement.
Absolutely. Same day, which is really great.
Exactly, yeah. And I think things like last mile and really improving our e-commerce capabilities are one of the things that are going to be the catalyst to our change and our, adapting to the local consumer and the local needs. And also it'll be one of the main pillars of how we can move forward and remain a leader within the fashion industry in Saudi. And Joe, I wanted to ask you specifically, how are you, managing that shift from in-store to e-commerce and the balance between both?
Before going into the specifics here, it's very important to talk about retailers in general and how what they can do to thrive in the new normal that resulted from the COVID-19 crisis. So those retailers will have to create meaningful connections with the customers. This is in general. And also invest in the human capital, in the frontliners, and as well as thinking about the retail experience, be it online or offline. So when we talk about creating meaningful connections with customers, it's about developing an understanding of the changed habits of these customers and how to tailor the offer, the product, and the communication accordingly. Consumers, I believe, after COVID are looking into more meaningful connections. We should not, as retailers, be push the customers to buy right now. We'd rather build good relations with them in order where we believe that this relation will pay off well in the long term. You spoke really well about the shifts in the Saudi customer. So now, if we talk more, and I'm not going to elaborate here, if we talk more about creating retail experiences, we think, again, we go back to the customers and we think of them and how to delight them across the entire value chain, like how we can improve the last mile. We spoke about same-day delivery, how we improve the customer experience offline and the user experience online, leveraging the data collection and the historical data to create more personalized offer and personalized communication and elevate, the human touch as well as the clienteling that is delivered by our frontline. So here, the role of the store will certainly change from a point of sale, as we call it today, to a point of touch. It is really a holistic alteration in the approach to customers. So point of sale to point of touch. So if we talk about the near future and the modern store does not exist only to close transactions anymore. So now it is changing. It exists to allow the customers the opportunity to engage with products, touch them, develop loyalty, spend time in the store, be the brand ambassador, post about their memorable experiences. The store also should serve pragmatic functions like the click and collect and the fulfillment centers to e-com. And this here, it answers your question of how to mix e-com and physical store. So in terms of size of the store of the future is smaller in size, but it is experience driven. Shoppers are encouraged to take photos, to immerse themselves in the environment that the brand is creating. The stores will allow the customers to order products online while they are in the store, products that are not available in the store, and it will allow them to return a product purchased online to any location of the store. Today, part of the user experience or the customer experience, the bad one, is that you buy online and you go to the same brand, and for logistical reasons that the customer doesn't care about, you obviously cannot return the item.
And the brand's being very flexible with that. Exactly. You can actually order, any item that's not available. We can actually submit the request for the client where he can receive it in a couple of weeks or a month, where the item that he actually wanted and requested, which is a good flexibility also that we try to provide for the client, so they get what they need and what they want in the kingdom.
Yeah, this is Turkey, what takes us to the third point I spoke about, which is the role of the frontliners, a role that we really want to evolve. And, we have now more expectations. We as retailers and the customers have more expectations from the frontliners. We want to also provide them, as you said, with the improved technology and the flexibility to better service our customers. We want to provide them with real-time stock management, so that if a customer asks about a size, you don't want to take forever to be able to answer them. It has to be immediately on their phone. Also they need to have the tools to do the storytelling of a certain product and, do better customer capture in order to enhance the data and do the personalized communication as we said before.
And Joseph, great point. The frontliners here are really going to be the heroes that drive this message forward. And I think the major shift here in previous years has been the Saudization of the frontliners, which Turkey, I'm sure you have more experience with than I do, but definitely has changed the game and challenged us as a group as well and as retailers to ensure that the Saudi frontliner is just as experienced as, whichever frontliner was before them. And so really, doubling down on training them, on making sure that they're well versed within the fashion industry and not specifically within that brand, but what's happening on a macro level around that brand. And I think those things are really important in serving the customer experience that we're hoping to match globally on.
It wasn't easy, to be honest, because when you think about retail and finding the right calibers, like the people that you can put them in the store to meet your clients and serve them, there's not many experienced Saudi men and women that are ready for the work. So that took a lot of training and took a lot of time to, let's say, recover from that kind of change. It was a big change from because in 2018, I remember it was September. That's when it was the deadline, 100% Saudis in the front line. And so, which was an amazing move because it provided a lot of jobs for a lot of young Saudis. And now in 2021, we have amazing driven people who have amazing experiences and who really, have learned so much during these past years to elevate the way how they serve customers. They understand the business ins and out and what are the things that sort of they can do to, they're becoming more creative with their ways of selling and touch base with the clients.
No, they are now. I believe you visit some of the stores, you see brand ambassadors inside.
Absolutely,
the stores.
yes.
People that are really passionate. They love their brands, and that you feel that you are talking with someone from the brand, not someone.
Because they learn it. Yeah. They learn the product. They learn the stories behind the product. They understand why this thing costs that amount, and they can add the value to the brand today, those frontliners, they're the ones who can actually add the value to the brand or not. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And in general, Saudis are very charismatic. They're very warm people. And so it's very interesting for me to see when I walk into a store how a Saudi frontliner has made her role her own, not just in understanding the brand and the product, but also in understanding the ways to communicate with the customer, which is really great to see just a few years into this major shift. And so, having the right talents is definitely key.
The majority of those frontliners, they are into fashion. They love, dressing up. They love looking good. And I think it's also part of the culture because we're very told since we were little, it's in Eid, you have to dress up the best thing. Everything has to be new. When you go visit someone and you have visitors, you have to kind of look your absolute best. So it is part of that. But usually we follow the tradition of what we can wear usually. But now it's about, having your own, exactly, standing out and having your own, way of presenting yourself through the clothes that you wear,
Definitely. And, if we go all the way back to the consumer behavior research,
they're part of it.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And we see the shift from, fitting into the culture to now becoming a lot more individualistic, a lot more expressive of your style and even your opinions.
And we don't forget the influencers as well, because they have an absolute huge influence on how we look at fashion and what we dress and how to mix these patterns and these colors and how to go a little bit outside of the box where, in the beginning when it started, where people started to kind of change the way how they dress. It was a bit, on the safe side, but year after year, you can see that people sort of having their own voice through the way how they wear, and they become more, screaming through their clothes, standing out fully.
Agreed.
And we see it today.
Exactly. And I think we not just see it in the people that are in the stores, but also in local creatives and designers, and how kind of that narrative from their point of view is changing. It's becoming a lot more loud and a lot more colorful. And it's really exciting to see. And, as a group, one of our major priorities is supporting the local culture. And what's really great is we're already seeing these creatives thriving in their own right, creating their own businesses, whether it be concept stores or designers or even influencers as well. It's really exciting to see.
Most of Saudi talent, I think, talents and designers, they are all started. You can correct me, but they started with like, changing the way how the abaya would look, plus, evening wear. This is the start of most of the Saudi designers. And then, year after year, you can see the change. They started doing more of like, a formal, and then moved to like streetwear, comfort wear, and then now t-shirt. They moved to jewelry. They moved to even fragrances and beauty. Like they've started doing this, and it's huge here today. So
exactly, yeah. It's really exciting to see, and it's also very encouraging to see that it's not just gaining our attention, but we're getting regional attention and international attention for some of these brands. Like, very recently, the designer Arwa Al-Banawi just collaborated with
Adidas.
Exactly.
And that was amazing. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's really encouraging. And on our end, as I mentioned, it is very much a priority. So what we're really excited about is at the moment we're working with the Riyadh Park pop-up, through which we're really hoping to not just showcase our own concepts and brands and have it really be a testing ground for the store of the future, as you said, Joe. But also we have a dedicated area within the pop-up where we're launching our fashion lab, which we're really excited about. And the fashion lab ultimately is an incubator program, where we scout for and shortlist local designers to hopefully show in Riyadh Park, which is something that, I've had conversations with some of these designers. It's something that they really dream of, to be showing next to international brands. And so we, ultimately we'll be supporting them in showcasing in that platform. And it's not just that, it goes beyond that. So, we'll be providing them with funding for their brand. We'll be supporting them with mentorship and really doing what we can to make sure that these brands are set up for success. So when I say success, it's not just local success, but also seeing how these brands will compete regionally, if not globally.
Exactly. Culture of Mission, they started the Fashion Commission, and they started Fashion Future, and it started in 2018. They had amazing public figures who came from all over the world, like big names in the fashion industry, who came to celebrate, the Fashion Commission in Saudi Arabia, and really give the support to, help innovate and create and push and, collaborate together, with all these Saudi talents that we have.
You're talking about Fashion Futures?
Fashion Futures, yes.
Yeah, it was a great event. So Joe, I wanted to ask you, given all of these changes that are happening on a macro level, how is that translated to, our operations over the next, let's say, 5 years within the group?
Let me spread the good news. In the next few years, we will invest in e-com capabilities, in hybrid projects. We want to invest a lot in data analytics. We've been collecting data. Now it's time to invest in the analytics, in tech. To do the analytics, we need tech as well. In customer experiences, last mile automation as we speak. And, this is where we want to continue enhancing not only the customer experience, but also the employee experience. Now, we are also accelerating the capabilities that will give us a competitive advantage in the new retail scene. And then in terms of growth, we are strengthening our portfolio, our existing portfolio in the main cities. And then we want to expand to the secondary cities, to the smaller cities. Also brands from our regional portfolio will be established in Saudi as we move in the next few years. And we will sign new brands that fit more, the local Saudi taste. Now, we spoke about hybrid projects. Yes, we will further, develop our own concepts. We are investing in hybrid projects. And, such as, the Riyadh Park concept store, or the pop-up as we like to call it. This pop-up will be anchored by existing big brands like Level Shoes, Tanagra, Beta. It will host amazing brands like Fila. In beauty, niche exclusive brands some of them first time introduced to Saudi, like La Bouche Rouge, like Thameen, Ex Nihilo will be there, Ghawali will be there. And most importantly, the Fashion Lab, which is something that you are actively working on. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, exactly. So we're really excited about the Riyadh Park pop-up. It'll be a great kind of testing ground for all of these amazing brands that don't already exist in Saudi, and some of them that do. But with the Fashion Lab specifically, what we're doing here is really creating kind of a community space for these local designers. As we said, working with local talent is really important to us as a group. And so we wanted to create an experience where we can support these local designers and local talents and give them a platform to showcase their designs, to showcase their ideas. There's also an opportunity to access our e-commerce capabilities, to get funding for their brand moving forward, to get mentorship opportunities. We're not just here to bring the experience from an international brand perspective, but also to support these local brands reach that same level where possible. And so that's why the Fashion Lab is super exciting. I think this is a great way to move forward in ingraining the group in the Saudi culture, in positioning ourselves as a partner, as a mentor to all of these brands and designers, and, to move forward with the same tone of voice, if you will. And I think really the future is looking great for fashion in Saudi, especially with you guys and with the group in it. I think we can end it on that note. And I'd just like to say thank you both so much for your time.
Thank you, guys.
And thank you.
Thank you for this. It was a really good insight as well. Thanks.
Yeah, it was a great experience. And I also want to say thank you to the listeners for tuning in, and stay tuned for more episodes from the Chalhoub Group podcast series.